Let us pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Let us take the three refuges. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Okay, we shall now chant the verses to observe the 5 precepts. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sura meraya majja pamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Thank you for inviting me to come here to share the Dhamma, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to help us all realize together this wonderful Dhamma of the Buddha. The Buddha's teachings, when applied, transforms us to be better people. The Buddha's teachings, known as the Dhamma, is an education. This education, when we learn and apply it in our lives, will give rise to a change. When we are awakened to the Dhamma, we see life differently because now we see life with reality. The Dhamma is simply the truths of life and of our nature. It is simply how our mind works. When we understand this, we understand how best to live to minimize our pain and our suffering. Hence, to first understand, to learn the Dhamma, we must see it, learn it, read it in a contemporary language. Otherwise, its meaning may be lost or we do not understand. The world today is very different from that of 2,600 years ago when the Buddha walked northeast India. We now live, work, and practice in a very, very rapidly changing world. And the Dhamma must now be shared in an age of urbanization, globalization, instant communication. Our challenge today is how to utilize these modern ways of communication in sharing the marvelous Dhamma while practicing it in our daily lives. First, the Dhamma is an education of the realities of life, of the psychology of the human mind. There is no dogma. The Buddha, unique among all spiritual teachers, insists that all his students, including you and me, must test out his teachings, must see for ourselves the reality, the truthfulness of these teachings. Like a goldsmith, we must check for ourselves that this is indeed the truth and indeed something that will help us. The Buddha wanted us to critically examine and test his teachings before accepting them. That way, we do not need to function on faith. We now know the truth for ourselves. And it is only then that we can effectively transform our minds. The Buddha did not start any new religion. He wanted to make us better people, noble ones. He gave us the Dhamma, which he rediscovered, so that we can have less suffering, less pain as we walk this path towards full awakening. The only difference from the sciences is that science requires an external laboratory, while our laboratory is internal. In our minds, our validation is simply watching our own mind and our own experience within us and as we interact with the outside world. Within the last few months, our world has changed dramatically. This is the impermanence of life as taught by the Buddha. Within just 3 to 4 months, everything has been turned upside down. Now, the digital world is the means for which most of us work and most of us communicate. The Buddha Dhamma now must similarly be shared via this medium. Services which were traditionally conducted in temples, monasteries, and Buddhist centers are now conducted online, including the recent Vesak services. This is a paradigm shift from what we are used to, but we have to adapt to this new world, this new environment, which is going to be with us for a while. So what is the Dhamma? Why is it necessary? What is truth? Let us look at these 3 questions one by one. Dhamma. It is the state of nature as it is. It is how our universe is. It is, for lack of a better word, the laws or the way nature functions. It is the duties, our responsibilities, which we must do in accordance with the flow of nature to minimize pain and suffering. It is the way in which we must work so that our results are wholesome. Dhamma is not something invented by the Buddha. Dhamma is discovered by the Buddha. The word Dhamma has its root de, meaning to uphold, to support, to sustain. At a big scale, it is the essential order of things. It is the way things are. If we support it, if we live in accordance, we will have less pain, less suffering, less mental stress. Otherwise, we are blindly going against reality. The Buddha said, what is the ripening of dukkha? The word dukkha is often translated as suffering. Sadly, that is a poor translation of this very complex word. Dukkha means a lot. It means emotional unhappiness, psychological distress, dissatisfaction, unhappiness. It also includes our pain, suffering, physical and mental. When someone is overcome and his mind is obsessed with dukkha, either he sorrows and laments and beats his breast, he becomes depressed, he becomes melancholic. Or else he starts a search. He wants to make a change. He begins to ask, who is there that knows one word, two words for the cessation of my dukkha? And the Buddha said dukkha will either ripen in confusion or it will stimulate us to search. So for all of us at some stage in our lives, one awakens to discontentment. And we, wanting to be rid of this dissatisfaction or unhappiness, will search for an answer. Dhamma, when it is applied, can help us cut through our problems and hopefully gradually reduce them to nothing. Hence, it is not the theoretical study of the Dhamma, but its application of these marvelous truths of life, the marvelous realities which the Buddha had seen, which will help us have less suffering. It is the Dhamma that made the Buddha a Buddha, an awakened being. And the Buddha told us that if you can truly see the Dhamma for yourself, if you truly understand the Dhamma, you will see the Buddha. The Buddha is very much alive in you. Often people ask, why is it that Buddhists who claim to know the Dhamma, why are so many of them still unhappy? Well, the Dhamma is basically the medicine for us to reduce our pain and suffering. The medicine is there. But very often in many centers, in many societies, in many cultures, lineages and tradition, the beautiful, marvelous Dhamma is buried among much culture, much that we inherited from our forebears, much rituals and ceremonies. Sometimes there is so much icing on this cake that we have forgotten that beneath is the cake. It is this cake that is important. It is this cake, this core that we must apply in our lives so that we can reduce our pain and suffering. And often we are so caught up with the icing that we completely forget about the cake that is beneath. For many people, whenever we face discomfort and discontent, we bury it with sensual gratification. We buy something, a new dress, a new gown, a new watch, a new car, and that gives us happiness which buries our underlying unhappiness. Many people live convinced that retail therapy is the true source of happiness. And for many, it does provide psychological relief. But one day we will realize that this is not the happiness that we seek. And then we will seek for a higher happiness beyond these mundane pleasures. Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, none of us are here to teach. We merely share what we know. We merely be spiritual friends to each other. In this context, the traditional noble silence does not work, for people need help. They need a spiritual friend who would provide encouragement, guidance, and help when they are depressed or melancholic. The Buddha himself said that spiritual friendship, noble spiritual friendship, the Kalyana-mittas, it is the entire spiritual life. For these people help us to walk the noble path. These people remind us gently when we have deviated. They are truly our spiritual guardians, helping us to keep to the Dhamma. The Dhamma is indeed marvelous. And these two oft-quoted verses are among my favorites. For Zai Xin Zhong. The Buddha is in my mind. The Buddha is not somewhere outside. We are not seeking for an external Buddha somewhere outside, because the Dhamma, that which made the Buddha a Buddha, has to be in our minds. It has to be activated and lived in our actions. The Buddha is not somewhere far away. The Buddha is very much alive today, residing within our minds. Xin Zhong You Fo. Within my mind, within your mind, brothers and sisters, is the potential to awakening, the potential to be better, the potential to evolve to the highest state of purity. We are not a condemned sinner that requires to be bailed out. The Buddha assures us that within every one of us is that potential, that nature, that seed to be perfect. This is indeed a paradigm shift in spiritual thinking if one is to compare it with other spiritual philosophies or schools of thought. These two lines had encouraged me all my years. When we have the Buddha residing in our mind, when we know that we can be good, we can be better than yesterday, we can live well and properly. We can be happy as we strive towards ultimate awakening. After all, everyone seeks happiness, whether mundane or supramundane. In the Dhammapada verse 18, the Buddha said, "Here he is happy. Hereafter he is happy. One who performs meritorious deeds is happy in both existences." Happily he exclaimed, "I have done meritorious deeds." He is happier still when he is reborn in a higher world. When we live by our precepts, when we live doing what we can wholesomely, we are happy and without guilt. The Buddha said that his teachings, the Dhamma, is not to be rendered into classical meter. I allow the words of the Buddha to be learned in one's own language, in the Chula Vagga 533. Hence, to fully understand the Buddha's teachings, it must be communicated in a medium that we are familiar and comfortable with. Be it in song, dance, poetry, or a simple t-shirt. Its whole purpose is education. T-shirt logos are one of my favorite, for it stimulates conversation, and I become a walking advertisement. Our actions speak so loud that none can hear our words. People are watching us more than listening to our words. The Dhamma is more effectively shared by our actions than by our words. A single act of metta is far better than many words, sharing on the benefits of metta. In sharing the Dhamma, nothing is as effective as actually living it in our priorities and our lives. The Buddha's very first teaching is that of the middle way, avoiding the extremes of indulgence in sensual pleasures, nor tormenting ourselves, denying ourselves. He taught us the middle way between these two extremes as the way for us to slowly progress towards awakening. People will look at the lives led by Buddhists, by teachers who are sharing with them the Dhamma. People want to see success stories, modern heroes, people living successful and happy lives guided by the Dhamma, successfully in this modern 21st century. Thankfully, there is no shortage of such role models for us. So let us get out of whatever drama we are in and into the Dhamma. In the Dhammapada verse 19, the Buddha said, "Much though he recites the sacred text, but acts not accordingly, that heedless man is like a cowherd who only counts the cows of others. He does not partake of the blessings of the holy life." What this teaches us is that while it is extremely important that we know what is in the canon, what is in the text, it is more important that we act accordingly. This is an internet-savvy generation that have tremendous amounts of information available to them at the click of a keyboard. Whatever we share with this young generation, we must be sure that it is backed up by canonical sources, not of fables or mythology or legend, or we will lose all credibility. Communication, language is so essential. There is suffering in life. This is a common denominator of all of us, whether rich or poor, high in status or low in status. No one can deny this fact, this truth. However, I was told when I was younger that life is suffering. This gave me a very negative impression of the Buddhist teachings, and I found it quite inconsistent with what I experienced, for I could see that there is lots of happiness in life too. The reality is we have misquoted. The Buddha in the First Noble Truth taught us the first noble truth of dukkha, that very all-encompassing compound word. And this complex word is far more than what the English word suffering denotes. To say that life, with all its compound and conditional things, is dukkha, is unsatisfactory, is correct, as it teaches us of the unreliability, the instability, and unsatisfactoriness of all conditioned phenomena. But it is patently not what the word suffering implies. There is lots of happiness in life too, although this happiness is very transient. It disappears as soon as it comes, and for some, it is very, very lacking. For some others, it is more. But for all of us, we could see that whatever mundane happiness we have, it is impermanent. It is unstable. And the last few months of COVID-19 had clearly shown to us how unreliable our worldly happiness is, how unstable our world is. When we learn the Dhamma, when we learn and apply its basics, we first learn to control ourselves with sila, with precepts, with moral precepts. We learn the truths and we see that there is a different aspect called reality, different from what we want or wish to have or see with jaundiced eyes. When there is reality that shows us impermanence, dissatisfaction, and not self, we have to deal with it looking for alternative solutions. And then when we realize this, we try our best to minimize the causes that we plan which would give us unhappiness and tension. We control ourselves. We look for alternative solutions, and we delete the unwholesome roots or unwholesome causes planted by us. The story of Angulimala teaches us of how even a murderer can be transformed into a saint by this same process. Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, we now must awaken to problem-based engaged Buddhism. People come to us as individuals or to our centers in search when they realize that something is not right. They need to change and they need help. If we are going around telling people that this Buddha Dharma is your answer, are we addressing what is the problem? Hence, we need to look at their problems so that we have the context for the appropriate answers. I call this problem-based engaged Buddhism. Metta, unconditional love. Are our centers ready to accept, counsel, and embrace these people, even though they may have different opinions and views from us? Are our centers practicing the culture of loving kindness, compassion, and wisdom? Human beings aren't just minds that we can upload the Dhamma into and say, this is a new operating system, just use it. No. They are also broken hearts, frail bodies, and to help them awaken to the Dhamma requires that we bring these people's unhappy thoughts, feelings, and actions to a new culture of loving kindness, compassion, and wisdom. If and where we fail, it is not because of the Dhamma. It is because we are not applying the Dhamma. Tranquility is another icon of the Buddha Dhamma. A single beneficial word, which upon hearing once becomes tranquil, calm, is much better than 1,000 sayings comprising of useless words. Verse 100 of the Dhammapada. This is another teaching, another training, in which we learn to look at problems with a calm mind, instead of reacting emotionally in a knee-jerk manner. Hence, dear Dhamma brothers and sisters, all of us who are serving the Sasana, who are acting as spiritual friends to one another, we must not be aloof, we must not be hiding in the center, and we must not be dogmatic. From weddings to funerals, from birthday celebrations to tuition, we have to engage ourselves in the sharing of the teachings. I learned that wisdom only exists for the sake of putting it into practice, that it is only good insofar as it benefits all living beings, one and all, including ourselves. Hence, we have to immerse in all aspects of life, from unhappy occasions to happy occasions. Brothers and sisters, we often hear that there are 84,000 Dhamma doors, 84,000 Dhamma teachings. Wow, we say, so much. This is from the Theragatha, verse 1024, said by the Venerable Ananda. He said, 82,000 teachings from the Buddha I have received, 2,000 more from his disciples. Now 84,000 are familiar to me. Indeed, it is a lot of teachings, but we must realize that all these 84,000 teachings have a common core, a central spine. We have the Eightfold Path. This is the way in which we live our lives. This is the way we live every day, moment to moment. We have within it the Four Noble Truths, the very central pillar of the Buddha's teachings, which we must realize for ourselves. And we have the three universal characteristics of impermanence, dukkha, and not self. All teachings come to this core. All Dhamma doors lead to this core. In the first teaching of the Buddha. In the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the Buddha taught of the Eightfold Path and the Four Noble Truths. In the second teaching of the Buddha, the Anattalakkana Sutta, he taught of impermanence, dukkha, and not-self. This is the very core of the Buddha Dhamma. This is the very core of the marvelous Dhamma to which we learn and apply. Hence, this marvelous Dhamma requires a self-discovery, a realization, an insight that life can be lived wholesomely and purposefully. It requires that we have the insight that it is possible to achieve freedom from our suffering. It is possible because we have caused this suffering by our ego, by our cravings, our attachments, our likes, dislikes, and aversions. When we realize that we have planted these roots of suffering ourselves, we can stop planting them. This realization is needed for our transformation. And in this process, spiritual friendship supporting each other is essential. I am very grateful for all the spiritual friends that I had over these many decades, who had taught me so much and who had helped me in so many ways. But life will still have its problems and issues. This is the first noble truth. Even an enlightened being like the Buddha himself had to face these problems and issues. The Buddha is recorded to have attempted to stop a massive quarrel at the city called Kosambi. There, two groups of monks were documented to be quarreling and brawling and deeply at odds, stabbing each other with their words. The Buddha walked all the way to Kosambi, and there he reminded the monks of their duty to act towards one another with loving kindness, with metta instead. And he suggested that the warring groups meet separately until the matter was settled. But what did he get? The members of the group came to blows instead. And when the Lord Buddha called for restraint, one participant quite rudely told him, the responsibility for these quarrels is ours alone. In the end, the Buddha just walked away, reflecting that such people do not realize that we are all heading for death. Those who do realize it will calm down, will compose themselves, and cease to quarrel. If we know we are going to die, and we all are, such quarrels become immaterial. I had always said, I had repeatedly emphasized that if every one of us know exactly when we are going to die, we are going to live our lives radically different from how we are living our lives now. If we know when we are going to die, that indeed is a great gift, for it would motivate us to do our best. It will motivate us to do what is right. And it will also motivate us to realize that some things have to be let go of. Let go. Walk on. For many, it is impossible because of attachments. We have to drop this craving. We have to drop this image of self. We have to drop this notion of permanence and for things to be what we want it to be. There are times when we have to realize that we have to go straight on with the movement of life. O noble one, think of yourself as someone who is sick. We first have to realize, as is clearly stated in the first noble truth, that there is lots of dukkha, and that we wish to be rid of this dukkha. We have to realize that we are sick. And we have to realize that there is a third and fourth noble truth. There is the Dhamma, the medicine, the way to end this dukkha. And that our teacher, the Buddha, is that skillful doctor offering us this medicine. But we have to take this medicine. Only we can decide whether we wish to take the medicine and use this on our way to recovery. So in the 21st century, people are cynical and questioning. What is truth? I raised earlier. Truth remains the truth, whether it is 1,000 years ago, now, or 1,000 years later. The truth remains the truth, whether we believe it or not. The truth does not need to be defended. It stands by itself. This is a modern world where people will ask you for evidence. No longer will people be willing to accept teachings without question just because someone said it. And here the Buddha Dhamma stands supreme because it is the Buddha who teaches us the philosophy of ehipassiko. You have to experience the Dhamma by yourself. See, taste, touch, feel, know whether it is true or not. This is a core, a pillar of the Buddha's teaching. And whatever you see, feel, touch, know, experience for yourself as the truth, you do not need faith anymore. Now you know. No one has a patent right to truth. No lineage, no tradition, no culture. For truth stands by itself. If it is the truth, no matter who says it or no matter who denies it, it remains the truth. So the truth is still the truth, even if the whole world is to have forgotten about it. And that is why the Buddha rediscovered the Dhamma. A lie is still a lie, even if everyone is to believe it. Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, we have a wonderful, marvelous Dhamma with us. It is a software for us to help us improve our minds to be better than yesterday. We must use all the modern technology at our disposal to help people, to help ourselves. This is no longer a generation that reads thick, boring books, but a generation used to instant knowledge, to multi-sensorial messages through the electronic media. And this is the medium which we must now, in the wake of the COVID-19 crisis, master to help people to awaken to this Buddha Dhamma. I wish to say thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts. I wish to say thank you to everyone here for giving me your attention. Thank you so much.
Dedication of merits. Let us invite all sentient beings to participate in our acquired merits. Etta vata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Etta vata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Etta vata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Let us dedicate the merits of participating in this wholesome Dhamma activity to our departed relatives and friends. Idang me tinang ho tu sukita hontu tayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.